you have so much power in understanding this and also in writing effective programming once you get into the field, if you really understand it. So we have the whole gamut of options here. You can memorize everything, you can learn the tips and tricks, you can learn everything, or somewhere in the middle of that. So try to get as much learning as you can, because you'll be better professionally and it will make the test so much easier, because then you don't have to try to figure out like from memory exactly this means this, and then take, like take these multiple steps. You just understand it no matter how they word it. All right. So before we get into this, we need to understand what happens in muscles. So if you look at the picture on the right, this is the picture of a muscle imbalance. Now, one thing that is a major shift for almost everybody is not thinking anymore just about a prime mover, but thinking about the muscle that it couples with, the muscle that opposes it, how they work together, and how changing one will impact the other. So let's just do bicep curls again because it's easy, but this is not where we're going to really see it, but we can learn it here and apply it elsewhere. So as you are curling up, think about what's happening in your bicep. Your bicep is contracting. We already know that. As you're lowering down, eccentric, your bicep is lengthening. Let's come back up and do another curl. So as you're here in the curl, the top of the curl, your bicep is at the point of maximal contraction. It's the shortest it gets. So the question is, what's happening in your triceps? So a lot of times people will say, and people who know a ton about lifting and have great experience will say, oh, the tricep is contracted. No, the tricep needs to work opposite of the bicep. So think about this. The only reason, one of the main reasons we have bones is so that the muscles have something strong that they can move against. If your bicep contracted and your tricep contracted, that would crush your bone. There's no way that the bone could allow both sides to get short without it somehow being impacted, like the structure and integrity of the bone. So I say this because they work opposite of each other, right? If your bicep is contracting, then your tricep on the backside is stretching out. It lengthens to allow that to happen. So this is like a pulley system. The opposite is also true. Let's say that we're doing some sort of tricep extension. Now we're working the tricep. So the tricep muscles are going to get shorter. The bicep muscles, to allow that to happen, will lengthen, and that allows the bone to maintain its length, and everything can pivot off of the bone. Okay? So the big thing you want to take away from this is the muscles work opposite of each other. Now we can do that anywhere in the body. A lot of them are going to be really nice like this, where it's like front of body. What is its pair on the back of the body? But some of them are also going to be in a different direction. Like we have your upper traps. When they contract, your middle and lower traps lengthen. Okay. Let's come back to this picture. So in the perfect world, if nobody had any problems with their body, then it would be like the first picture, where this creates a right angle. When we're at rest, that's what it's showing here. We're not working. When we're at rest, they can both pull to the same length, and they're just, they're relaxed. They're waiting for the next movement, and then they're going to work opposite of each other. What happens a lot is a muscle imbalance. So a muscle imbalance just means that we have one tight muscle. One muscle is going to stay, it's going to contract like we want it to. However, it's going to stay there. It's going to be in a state of chronic contraction. So think of what happens to the muscle length when it's contracted. It shortens, right? You see how this picture, it's bunched up, right? Like it's not like a tight muscle, there's less muscle fiber, right? It's just condensed into a smaller area because it contracts. So that's why that muscle looks like wider, fatter than the ideal one. But what does this do to the opposite muscle? The opposite muscle did what it was supposed to. As a partner, if this one gets short, that one gets long. It just never relaxed and went back to the way it was supposed to. So even though this is such a simple graphic, there's so much here. Look at the angle on the muscle imbalance. That is the bone. Those are the joints, right? Where they meet up together. So this is showing us that when somebody has a tight muscle and it's going to be doing that pulling, you don't just have a tight muscle. You have a tight muscle that changes the alignment of your body because it's going to pull the bones and joints in the wrong angle since it never relaxes back to center like we have in the ideal. Okay. So the muscle imbalance is the tight muscle. The tight muscle never stops there. This is like a chain of dominoes. So we'll go through all of the chain, but just for today, the overactive, underactive muscles, we want to know what is the next domino that goes down. When it's tight, it makes its opposite muscle weak because that one, when it gets stretched out, like picture like a muscle that's going to be chronically stretched out. It's not a good thing. It's not like, oh, I'm super flexible. It's just like, okay, if it's in this state, that is too long, it loses its tone. It loses the ability to fire. So when the brain is sending the signal, it can't. It's like it's so restricted in what it can do because the tight side, the other one, is preventing it from contracting because that is already contracted. Okay. So this, when we think of the whole reciprocal, the pulley thing, one is tight, the other is long, right? And this goes both ways. It doesn't matter if we are doing like resistance training or flexibility. Let's say that we're doing a bicep curl. This is resistance, right? We want the bicep to contract and get short. The tricep has to lengthen. Let's say though that we are stretching our triceps, right? In this case, the triceps, what we want it to do, the lead movement here is going to be that it gets long. They get long. And the biceps are going to, not in a way that's going to make them strong, but they have to get shorter, right? So it doesn't matter whether we're working or stretching. They're always going to work opposite of each other. So anything that uses that pulley is going to go under reciprocal inhibition. So when you think of like how things work reciprocally, they work together. For good or for bad here, they work both. Every muscle has its partners and you work together. So just them doing that is reciprocal inhibition. Later on, we'll talk about when they're not doing it right, but we want to know the two things. So we have muscles work opposite of each other. When we get a tight muscle, it's going to cause its opposite muscle to get too stretched out and everything's going to pull at the wrong end. So before we get into this now, we're using the words here tight, weak, right? You hear these words coming up a lot. The technical term for a tight muscle is overactive. Like an active muscle is a good thing, right? Like it's going to contract. That's what we want it to do. An overactive muscle is going to be one that's active too much, right? It's going to be active and it's stuck there. That causes its partner muscle, when that gets stretched out and weakened, to become underactive, right? It can't do its job anymore the way that it was intended to. So for the test, what we want to do, this is why it's highlighted and bolded. You must know every single one of these interchangeably. No matter how they ask it, all of these things are going to mean the same thing. It's the same question. So this is one of the keys to mastering overactive, underactive questions, is identifying what they're actually asking. So my advice is just figure out which one you naturally like gravitate towards. For me, I think of everything as tight and weak. So if it says, what is the overactive muscle? In my mind, I don't ever read that. In my mind, I read, what is the tight muscle? If they say, what is the shortened muscle? I read, what is the tight muscle? If they say, in this situation, what needs to be stretched? I read, what is the tight muscle? It's always the same question. So you want to just figure out what works for you. You're going to hear me say tight and weak because that's what I use, but we're going to have all the questions that no matter how you think of it, it's okay. So let's see why they're all the same thing. If that muscle gets contracted and it gets stuck there, this makes sense why it's shortened, right? It's contracted. So it stays tight because it's too short. It's overactive. It will not stop doing its job. So this muscle is too short. What do we need to do? What is the solution? We've got to add some length back to that muscle. So if you look over here at our picture on the right, you can tell that the way for us to get back to a right angle here, for this line to get straight up and down, is for this muscle to get longer. So the overactive muscle needs to be stretched. Now let's look at the other side. The underactive muscle, is the one that we know already, like as a result of the tight one, has gotten stretched out. So it's lengthened, but it's also become weak because of that, right? It can no longer be firing, getting shorter. It's trapped in this long state. So it becomes underactive. So what's the solution here? If this muscle is too long, we do not need to stretch it. Stretching it more is not going to fix anything. We need to do the opposite. We need to make it shorter. Okay. So this is why the overactive, underactive muscles are at the heart of everything we do. We don't look at the size of somebody's muscles, right? We're not measuring actual muscle length. What we do is look at how their joints move. So we can tell by the way that their joints are moving, if they're moving the wrong way, it's because there's a tight muscle that's pulling it. And then we can fix that part by stretching it. But we also need to know what to do with the partner muscle to get that tone back, right? So that it can be strengthened.
Like and subscribe to receive all of our NASM personal trainer certification review content. If you'd like to learn more about our full NASM CPT prep program with over a 95% pass rate and money back guarantee, head over to thecptacademy.com.